Hello there, and welcome to A Film a Day with me, Jordan Woodley. The Americana road trip is a really good framing device for simple, independently led stories because, frankly, the nature of it means there isn't. You can. In terms of the plotting, it is very straightforward. The plot beats are simple, and the the structuring behind it, that there's no great depth or meaning to the story itself. But I think the beauty in its simplicity is that it means it can really delve into themes and ideas around character, around landscape, around sort of the nature of journey itself. And it's a really good platform for actors to really sort of focus on their performance and really build intensive relationships. Now, of course, it has worked in both directions. There are some tremendously famous pilgrimage Americana films, and then you have films like Jerry, which is that's a special kind of cinematic experience. But as I say, its simplicity means it is something that many filmmakers can go back to and find new ways to explore character and story through just the art of travel and the art of, especially if the travel isn't by road or by traditional sort of road travel. And I suppose the beauty of the Peanut Butter Falcon is the fact that it's almost a Huckleberry Finn type story. That there's something very incredibly simple about it, and yet really quite emotionally deep. Particularly with the fact that one of your leads is both presented and portrayed by someone who has Down syndrome. Of course, previously I talked about, I think it was My Feral Heart was the last film where I covered a character suffering from Down syndrome, as I remember. And of course that was a sort of British filmmaker's perspective on it. And of course there are sort of parallels in the portrayals. The idea that someone with Down syndrome is on some level quite, there's something very straightforward about someone with Down syndrome, that they communicate and understand in a way that is very straightforward. But they're not only that, they are not children, and they are not infantilized. They shouldn't be infantilized, nor should they be abused. And I think the portrayal of Zach, played by Zach Gatterson, does give you this sweet-natured, well-intentioned character who, yes, he has extremes of emotions and, can't always understand the situation he's in from the beginning when he's in the, he's been placed into a nursing home and can't understand why, considering he's 22. And, the struggles that he has after he escapes, and yet the friendship that he makes with Shia LaBeouf's Tyler, and the fact that he very quickly bonds and is invested in the character of Tyler, and his desires, his mission is simple. He just wants to find this wrestler that he's admired and learn to be a wrestler, because again there's it is the going after the great dream. And so, like I said, the performance is truly, it is a tremendous performance. It really shows, like as I say, particularly by an actor who themselves has Down syndrome, the fact that they're able to sort of portray so much in a character who has so many obstacles externally and yet internally has almost like a pinpoint focus on what his mission is. And then, of course, like I say, you have the character of Tyler. And I could talk about Shia LaBeouf and the fact that Shia LaBeouf is an incredibly difficult and controversial person to discuss outside of films. But frankly, I don't want to. It's a situation where we don't know what his personal circumstances are, and the public attitude towards him has shifted from one side to the other. And although we're in the phase where some serious allegations have been made against him, frankly, it doesn't take away from the fact that this is a good film. And very much with the rule of Kevin Spacey, his crimes, and his crimes are, without doubt, abhorrent, does not take away from the fact that it shouldn't ruin the artistic experience of films that he has been in, because he is not those films. And these films were worked on just as much by, the other casts of films he's been in, and production teams, and everyone who's been in that stage. And the idea that every film that he has been involved with is now somehow ruined, tarnished, it's a great tragedy. And so with Shia LaBeouf in this, yes, Shia LaBeouf is complicated. Yes, it might come forward that in the coming months and years, we do have to have that same attitude to him. It might be that, in fact, these things aren't as... the nature of media and being in the public's spectrum means that there's always the possibility that his reputation may change, as it has done over the last couple of years. And so therefore, at this particular junction, I only want to focus on his performance. And again, it is a good performance. Shia LaBeouf, at this stage in his career, has really found a confident place in his performance style. Between this and Pieces of a Woman, he really shows how he can play these very earthy, simple men. In this case, a guy who could have been a very typical rogue-like figure, whose relationship to this guy with Down syndrome is possibly manipulative and possibly exploitative, and yet there is the nuance to it. The fact that he treats him, he develops this relationship to him and treats him with respect, and and doesn't ignore but rejects the attitudes of people who abuse Zach for his learning disability, and and the fact is that he sees things in Zach that are there, and he genuinely believes that underneath it all that this kid is good and well intentioned and deserves better. And of course, you get the subtext about his relationship with his own brother, who's died at the beginning of the film, has passed away. You get, and so the idea that he is developing this relationship to someone who, again, he has that a fraternal connection to. And then, of course, you have Dakota Johnson. And Dakota Johnson, again, is a figure who I think we really need to step away from sort of reputation. Not because she has any tarnish against her public reputation, but, of course, because she was in 50 Shades of Grey, that has left a legacy over her career. And I think that is a terrible shame, because she is a great actress. I mean, I remember seeing her in How to Be Single, and I genuinely thought she was great in that film. And in this film, again, she's so good. And, the fact that she is well-intentioned, is protective of Zach, but also works for the system, and believes that the system will protect him as best it can, even though it's been the system that has been letting him down. And the fact that she has to essentially chase these two down with the intention of bringing Zach back. But again, there's a sweetness to her and a complexity. All three of these characters have these relationships that very subtly they refer to outside of the film, and yet it informs so much about their relationship to each other, and they become this great triad. of three people who life has been difficult to. And I think this film is all about that, particularly, and not to spoil towards the end, but when they find the wrestler played by Thomas Hayden Church, and again, it's a lesson in how life sometimes lets people down, and the fact is that people have these situations that are just, that there's this sort of lingering melancholy that people don't acknowledge, but they just get on with their lives with this unacknowledged sadness within themselves. And it takes a character like Zach, who's so full of a dream and so sort of driven by passion and wants to make these bonds with people, that it sort of brings a new kind of happiness to these people who had kind of sort of settled with this lingering sadness. And like I say, it is a simple film. It is very simple and straightforward, and yet in that simplicity is this beautiful character piece that I think is it's not going to shake the rafters, and it might not leave me in the coming months and years thinking how great it is, but I think it definitely has a sweet heart to it, and it has this true sense of honesty and the sense of, like I say, this sort of American road trip, and the idea of finding yourself and finding connection through the journey, even if the destination is not what you expect or not what you want. Yeah, this is one of those sort of sleeper hits that I heard about at the time. Sort of 2 years on now, I've watched it and I've gone, I understand why people say this film, shouldn't be slept on, because it has all of, so much going for it. Anyway, thank you for joining me. If you like this video, hit the like button, comment below, and share the video, because it's all helping the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get notifications of when new videos are uploaded. Check out my back catalogue of almost 250 videos. I am very swiftly coming up to that next arbitrary checkpoint. And follow me on Twitter at Jordan_Woodley, where I tweet about TV shows and films, and I share these videos once they're uploaded to YouTube, either the day of or the day after. Thank you for joining me. Take care.